You're listening to the Hope Revealed Podcast Network with your host, Matt Crump. The Hope Revealed Podcast Network is home to shows like Hope Revealed, God's Got This Stories, Fight School with co-host and Emmy Award-winning director Bill Nolan. On Clubhouse, the new international room called Let's Get Naked and Cancer FU, Fighters United, or his LinkedIn show called Matt Chat Live. Every episode of every show is designed to give you inspiration, motivation, hope, and the tools you need to navigate life successfully at home, business, or career. So now, your host, coach, consultant, and purveyor of hope, Matt Crump.
Ooh, I was back there playing the drums. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Matt Chat Live here on the Hope Revealed Podcast Network. I'm super excited to have an awesome guest, quite a chameleon. You'll find out all about him and his life and his business in a little bit. I'm sure you'll dig it because there's a lot of great information, and his business is going to be relative to you. Not only that, his experience in his life is going to be something I'm positive you'll be able to relate to. And you ever felt sometimes like you just keep coming up against like walls, like you're building all these things, right? You got this great thing going. The plans are perfect. Everything's set in place and you're building this beautiful structure and bam, a wall just gets knocked down. You're like, oh my gosh, you got to build the wall back up and bam, another wall. Yeah, I get it. So I've kind of had one of those days. It's been one of those days. Car towed, bank account hacked, another car going bad, people mad. You know, it's just, you keep like, what in the world is next? I know that's a bad question to ask. Never ask that question, but it's true. Oh my gosh. I know what you feel like. I know what you're going through with that. That's one of the reasons why I've been a coach and consultant for decades. I'm not going to say how long because it makes me feel horrible sometimes. I'm getting old. It's crazy. Like I had Father's Day weekend this weekend. I was hanging out with my son and there's stuff I'd love to do, but oh boy, I can't just keep up with my young boy anymore. It's crazy. Time flies by. So, I'm totally getting what some of y'all, all of us are going through, but there's some out there that are just nailing it, doing some great stuff and saying, man, I'm doing fantastic. That's awesome. I think there's something in this for everybody. And we all have something that we could share to help make things even better. And that's really what Matt Chat Live is all about. It's not necessarily about trying to get you to buy something or convincing you that you're doing something wrong. You might be, but it's about helping you to find ways to move forward, right? And there's so many people out there that have gone through exactly what you're going through, and some that that can help you to see what's on the other side of that crap. Let's just say it right. Let's just deal with it, right? That's what it is. So, you know, we've had some great guests in the past, and I'm looking forward to that today too. I will say we've got a couple of our sponsors on the show, thanks to MF Consulting and, of course, Encapsulator.io. We'll hear about them here in just a moment. And I'm glad you're here with us. It's Wednesday, 5 p.m. Don't forget, every Wednesday at 5 we go live, which is 2 in the Pacific Coast, Pacific Standard Time. And for all of our friends in Australia, for our followers there, it's bright and early, 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, come on, you're getting ready for your shower, you're doing your stuff. Just turn it on, take a listen. We're going to have a good time. And then what's really cool, right after that, let me see if I can do this and get myself lined up. I put this thing the wrong way. I'm going to lean this way. Here we go. Oh, boop. There we go. All right. So over here, you always got to go backwards. It's so weird. I got to make myself backwards. All right. So now we're doing here. There we are. We're doing me live at 5. And then right down here. Whoa, 7 o'clock tonight. I can't wait to hang out with you because 7 o'clock tonight is Let's Get Naked on Clubhouse. And we have had such an amazing room there for so long. We started maybe, 4 or 5 months ago now. And our mods are from all around the world. They're incredible people. And every night has been powerfully transformational. If you don't show up, I mean, something's wrong with you. You're going to grow hairy legs and hair out your armpits or something. You don't show up. That's what I'm talking about. So let's get naked on at 7:00 on Clubhouse every Wednesday night. Really a chance to shed the veneer of fear, doubt, lack, the imposter syndrome, all the mess that people say, like, my social media is going perfect and I look like this, but it's not really you. It's you 12 years ago. And you're really mad because, well, I do the same videos Matt does, but he gets thousands of views and I get 200 views. So I hate Matt, right? Well, come on, let's just be real. That's what Let's Get Naked's about. And we have a chance to kind of just air those things and get through some situations. We have a theme every time, and you can join us on LinkedIn Live. We have a LinkedIn event page every week for that too. And you can jump on chat with us every time because it's just all audio. So you can get naked as you want. Ain't nobody gonna see you. They'll hear you, but they won't see you. And we'd love to be together. So we'd love for you to jump on with us every Wednesday night at 7:00 for Let's Get Naked. All right. So that'll be just a little bit. I look forward to seeing you here tonight. It's gonna be really, really good. All right. So until then, I want to talk a little bit about some of our sponsors. First one is my friend Chris Webb. He's over in Canada. He's on the far side of Canada. He's on the west coast of the United States, up north. And he runs a company called MF Consulting. He's a fantastic friend of mine, great guy, has some great stuff available. I'll tell you about it in just a second. So here's the deal. Chris doesn't play around with MF Consulting. And I'll give you a few guesses what MF stands for. Yeah, it does. So he gets in your face, I'm telling you what. But it's a good way. He cares about you. He wants your business to succeed. He does. He's got a website that has an academy, basically. It's an academy. And it's got hundreds of videos in there, things you could choose by topic or subject, whatever, and learn different things while you're there in his company, right? The things he's doing to help you succeed. It's really a great program. Check him out, mfconsultingpc.com, and you'll get a chance to check him out. Make sure you tell him Matt sent you. Or, again, I'm talking about those hairy legs and the armpit stuff. It's going to be nasty. So you got to call him, all right? So I'm looking forward because I'm going to show you this guy right here. Let me pull back up here. This fella right here. You see him? Look at that guy. Is he looking nice, friendly? He's a friendly guy in his little studio looking at you. He's so cool. His name's Mike. And Mike has been on the mic for quite a while, and he's having an opportunity to do some things to change not only his life, but the people's lives around him. And we're going to find out all about him with his company called Social Chameleon. Dude, that's a cool name. I do marketing and branding. Boom. Social Chameleon with a little tail with an O. He's a smart guy. I like this guy. He's pretty cool. I'm much older than him, but we'll talk about that another time. All right, so coming up in just a moment is this awesome guy named Mike. We'll be right back with him. Bam, so there he is right there. I figured I'd go this way. This is Mike. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
What's going on, brother? Appreciate it, man. What an intro, and this is a legit show. I just love the way that your branding is on point. We could talk about branding today too, and just love what you stand behind. And I did a little homework on you too. I know you did your homework on me, but don't worry, I'm prepared. And I just love the inspirational content you're putting out on LinkedIn and on all your social. And also your story, man, about fighting through cancer and the fact that you keep moving forward and you keep going, you don't give up. You live the things that you consult and coach and teach and inspire. You do it firsthand, and that's why it resonates, and it's transparent. And I just want to give you some love.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, especially on a day like today when everything was just falling apart before we came on. I was late for you. I mean, everything. So thank you for the grace.
Good.
It's so good. Yeah, man.
That tip, nothing's good. You got to be ready because what goes smooth, like, when it goes smooth, that's when you got to be like, wait a minute, something's around the corner.
Something's wrong.
This seems too, as an entrepreneur, wait a minute. Everybody's saying yes to me today and everything's just rolling,
Yeah. What's wrong?
Car's going to break down. Your backup, you get your car, your backup car, holy smokes, man.
Yeah.
You've been dealt up. We're here and we're having fun. So that's what's
we are, important. Man. So, all right, Mike. So you got this company called Social Chameleon. And it's really only been out. Still a fairly new company. You started just a few years ago. Before that, you were living life in the corporate world and management and brick and mortar kind of stuff, and you made some shifts in your life. So tell us a little bit about Mike, some of why were you even in retail? Why were you a manager of a store? Why did you think there was something else, right? What's that all about, Mike?
Yeah, try to give you the shorter version because I know we're limited on time. But to give our audience, and by the way, the reason I agreed to be on the show today, first of all, thank you again to Matt for having me on. But the reason,
Thanks.
if you're listening to me and you're watching me, thank you for your attention because I know how valuable it is and how many different places you're going to be pulled into. So if you're listening right now, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because I realize you could be going through a number of things, good, bad, and ugly. And if there's something in my story that can help bring you from where you're at to the next level up, that is why I'm sitting here right now doing this interview. Now, as far as who I am and kind of my backstory. So from a really young age, things I loved doing was always creating. I had a creative gene. I had, a couple musicians and drummers in my family, and naturally I took to music. So I played the drums from about 5th grade on, and my uncle was a drummer, and my dad's cousin was a drummer. He was a jazz drummer. My uncle was rock and roll. So I have kind of this bloodline of loving
fusion jazz.
Buddy Rich and John Bonham, and if you
Buddy Rich, that's a Buddy Rich beat right there. That's pretty cool.
There it is. And yeah, I was in anything where they said you can basically hit something and make a percussive sound, sign me up. I was literally in the back of orchestra hitting the triangle, whatever I could do to do something with percussion and creating. I loved it. I was also in the garage band. We actually were a basement band I was in 5th grade and playing with middle schoolers. So I thought I was the coolest kid. Because I have an older brother, so his buddies that were learning the 3-chord Green Day songs, I was like just laying down a drum beat, and they're like, "Hey, you can hold a beat. You're in the band." So that was me as a young age, like about 11 years old. I got into music, but I always loved music early on. Like the Beatles always resonated with me because of their just they were fun, and they wrote interesting music that I still, for some reason, don't think they even get enough credit for, believe it or not. I don't know if that makes sense as a statement, but to me as a musician, I think the general public still doesn't have the right appreciation for what the Beatles meant.
Dude, they were so creative. You're right. Yeah. Some of their songs, I'm wondering, how did they play that chord? I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. Like as a drummer, I know Ringo didn't get a lot of love until more recently. And whenever we would cover a Beatles song, I had to listen back to it a lot more than people would probably, or I'd care to admit, because everyone's like, oh, just a straight. No, he would if he did something 5 times in a song, he did it 2 times one way, 2 times another way. And then the 5th time totally randomly different. And you had to know when that was coming. Now, to the uneducated ear, just kind of flows, but he would do things really, really cleverly. So that was one part of me. Just love the creative side of music. Bands I was listening to, just to put it into perspective, I mentioned the Beatles at a really young age, but I loved Zeppelin. Especially John Bonham, just got me into the bombastic drum beats. My uncle gave me Zeppelin 1 for Christmas one year, and that's all I had to have in my hands. In my possession. But also I loved Weezer, Soundgarden, Red Hot Chili Peppers are always a favorite. So that early 90s vibe. Now I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So by the time I was like 8 years old, my formative years, I was listening to grunge and mixing that with classic rock. And that's kind of what turned me into the drummer and the musician that I was. Even around like a little bit before that time, my brother and I were really creative. We were writing screenplays. And we were creating movies like on mom's video camera, shoulder camera, running around the backyard. And I was literally the good guy, the bad guy, the other guy. Like I would just change my outfit and come in. And then any like friend in the neighborhood who happened to be like riding his bike by would be like, "Oh, come over here. You're going to be in our thing." I remember one time we were shooting like a reenactment of Saving Private Ryan. It might even have been out before that movie came out when we were doing this, like an army movie, because we had the woods behind our parents' house. And he was wearing this kid was wearing a baseball t-shirt, and he was the bad guy in a movie, and he falls flat down. I'm like, he's got a number 7 on his back. Like, come on, can you at least turn the shirt inside out? But anyway, my brother and I, my brother Wally, he's a couple years older than me. We thought we were Spielberg and Zemeckis. So I always had this love for creating interesting stories. What I love about those guys is they're not only really good at the stories that they tell, it's visually compelling. One of my favorite movies is Jurassic Park. A lot of my closer friends kind of laugh. They're like, what are you, like 8 years old still? I'm like, well, you know what? That movie, the way he shot it, first of all, it's an entertaining movie. So that's the number one thing I look for when I'm going to a movie or going to give someone an hour and a half to 3 hours of my time. Yeah. Will I be entertained? If the answer is no, then what are we going there for? We're going to another place to be entertained. So they do that well. They do storytelling really well. But visually, the way that Spielberg in Jurassic Park, the first one, takes you through and shows you the actors' expressions, more so than just the violence and the gore and the dinosaurs, is done really, really well. So that was always a movie that got my attention and my interest in kind of storytelling. Went to Buffalo State College originally as an educator. I was going to be an elementary math teacher. There's a backstory in there. I'll kind of save you that. But I just had a teacher who inspired me when I was about 15 years old in high school. And I said, you know what? I want to do that for kids when they're a lot younger, because why did it take that long for me to realize my potential? I didn't realize my academic potential until I was 15 years old because of that one teacher. So when it was time to figure out what I was going to do in college, I said, I want to go for education and teach kids when they're a lot younger what their potential is. So I decided after a semester or two, meeting with my advisor, she looks at me and says, like, what do you want? Basically the question, are you doing what you want to do? Or what, if you can choose anything, what would you be doing? And I told her what I just told you guys is I was running around with the camera and literally VCR to VCR pressing play and record. And that's how we would edit our movies back then. Yeah. And she looks at me and she goes, do you know, through that window, that building right there, and it looked like an average rectangular brick building, nothing special. That's a studio. In the basement, there's literally a TV studio with the news desk. There's 3 huge, like $20,000 cameras in there. It's set up like a regular news studio. And all the productions are for the kids that live on campus. And, there's courses you can take. And I just said, sign me up for everything. So I switched over. I still have a love for education and helping kids out. And I think I'm going to do that in a different way on stage someday, more so inspiring them in not only academics, but in life, right? So like bigger picture, and kind of the entrepreneurial journey that comes in my story next. So I decided to do that. I'm very passionate about media production. I get my Bachelor of Arts in Media Production in 2008. So I know you said you're older than me, but I'm starting to feel a little bit old, my mid-30s here. And I'm in Buffalo, New York, by the way. I have a love for Buffalo, New York. It's in my heart, but there wasn't, at least in 2008, there's more today when we record this in 2021, but in 2008, not a ton of media production jobs, at least paying something that you would say I'm getting into my first career role. There was things you might do for free and stuff, but I didn't end up pursuing the media production thing too heavy here with the limited opportunities. And I'm going to be straight up. I wasn't interested in telling people it's raining or snowing out and being a weatherman or being behind the camera shooting the guy in a green screen or even fetching coffee at a news studio here and saying someone got shot down the street. That wasn't the news or the entertainment I was really into. I was into like more episodic screenplay, long, feature film. So I didn't know what that was going to look like or if those opportunities would come, or I have more of a create the opportunity mentality. But at 22 years old, I didn't know everything I know today. Let's just call it like it is. So
you weren't smart, didn't know everything at 22?
Didn't know everything at 22.
Wow. This is news, folks. I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you though, today, there's no shortage of information. So I know 22-year-olds have. If you're listening to this and you're 22, I mean, dude, get your headset on and start listening to the podcast you want. If you're not already, you're listening to us right now talking. So, and then get yourself in books, whether that's on your iPad or literally picking up a book and reading it and marking it up with your highlighter. I mean, there's no shortage of information. So you don't have to get it from the traditional resources of school. I'm not shooting down
I hate to be that guy, but it's true. I mean, I think their college is important for, I want a doctor to go to college, what lawyers to go to. But I mean, there's so many places people could go to now that can be successful and not have to go to college.
Even if you want to be a doctor, though, you could research it ahead of time today differently than like, oh, let me go try it and see if I like it. Like you can totally figure figure it out. Yeah, you can come
Yeah.
to the table with so much more information, which is incredible.
So you have a lot of creative experience in your background, a lot of excitement about creating things, doing things, and then you go and become a manager at a store. So we'll talk about that in a second. We'll come back to that because then there's some shifts that happen between those two places and where you're at now.
Yeah, there's a pivotal part in the story we'll get to right after.
Yeah, we'll do that. So you better hang on because we're coming back to that here in just a minute. I want to talk a little bit about my friend Danny Shannon out there in Australia. I love this man so much. I can't wait to tell you more about him in just a moment. Yeah, so that's encapsulator.io. That's the website address. And Danny's a great guy. If you know me at all, you know that I was a drug addict and alcoholic back in the day before the Army and the war and all the other things that changed my life. But back then, I remember what it was like. And Danny had battled drug addiction for a long time in his life. And when he went to a rehab center, which he happens to work at now, a lot of things changed for him. And some of the things he was wrestling with was, from the moment he walked in to where he was at. And he did kind of a little video thing, checking on himself, and came back and looked at himself and thought, wow, I have changed so much. I can't believe what I said then to now. And he created Encapsulator. It's a time capsule, a time vault for videos. So if you've ever grown up in a school where you did in elementary school, maybe you did a time vault where you put things from the year, it was a year you were there in school, and you put them in a bottle and you bury them in the ground, and 30 years later, somebody digs it up and sees what it was looking like. Like for me, it would have been back in the 70s, like they're digging up something from the 70s and I don't know, the 90s or whenever they opened it up. And people are like, wow, this is what the kids were thinking of back then. It's that kind of a deal, but you can do that for yourself, which is really cool, right? The one aspect. The other aspect is for teams and businesses. There are companies that are using Encapsulator now for team leadership and team building, and looking for where they're going along as they scale the business. Are they doing things the way they said they were supposed to do? Are things happening the way they thought they were going to work? Is there something that actually was better and they found a different way to pivot, right? There's always you can use this tool. It's fantastic. So the best way to find out, go to encapsulator.io, click on the link, you'll find out all about it, and you'll love it. I guarantee you. I've got an account there. I've already done several videos, and it's even more stuff is coming. Danny's got a lot up his sleeves, so keep tuned for that. That's Danny with encapsulator.io. All right, so today we're with my friend Mike, and Mike is the owner and operator and behind the scenes guy, and now he's got people helping him for a company called Social Chameleon. We just talked a moment ago. We were looking at some of the things in his life, his past, his passions, things he grew up with, things he enjoyed. And he has a pivotal moment that happened in his life that really thrust him through different places to where he's at today. I do want to get some time. We only got a few minutes left, but I want to get to time about what he does in Social Chameleon because it's very powerful. But you've been able to see some of the passion he's had as a person, right? Like you. There's things you've been through that you just really loved and you were good at. Maybe it wasn't exactly the thing you landed doing, but you found an opportunity. It just seems like it's right there. And the big deal for some folks is whether you're willing to take the leap or not. Sometimes the leap can happen through horrible circumstances. I've had to deal with that. I've never planned on some of the things in my life happening. I didn't sign up for that kind of crap, right? But stuff happens. And when it does, you have a chance and opportunity to move in a different direction. That's some things that happened to Mike. So we'll bring Mike back here to the screen. And Mike, we were just a little bit ago talking about the band. You had the band going. I'm thinking I need to call Mike and we need to start our own band now. It'd be fun.
Let's
right?
do it. Done.
Yeah. So let's
we could do it like Postal Service. We could record separately and
dude, it's all on the internet now. You just click a button and we go, right? It's amazing. So let's jump in. We've got like 10 minutes left. I know we got a lot to segue in 10 minutes, but if we can go from where you're at there in those passions to moving into your business life and to where you're at now.
Yeah, so right there, this puts me at about 22 years old. And what happens is I have an opportunity to either move out to Los Angeles and pursue a career in media. My uncle's out there at that point, doing really well, living in Sherman Oaks, working on major feature films as a digital recordist. So he's in charge of all the, when an orchestra would record the huge band for a movie, he was mixing it. And I nearly moved out cool. there with an opportunity to kind of go with him, like stay with him for a short period of time and kind of figure it out quickly thereafter and what my living situation would be. I decided to stay in Buffalo, and I ended up getting really serious with my girlfriend. She did say, if you want to go and pursue it, once in a lifetime opportunity, go do it. And I decided maybe it's my Italian heritage and just being close with my parents and everything here in Buffalo. I just felt I wanted to start a family here, and I was getting really serious with my girlfriend. So I didn't see it where I wanted to leave and maybe jeopardize that. So we ended up getting engaged like that next year, and 1 year later married. So now put me at 25 years old in 2011. I get married. And that year in business, I ended up getting into retail sales, which up until that point, to be serious, like to be transparent about it, it was barely paying the bills. It was just, whatever I can put gas in my car. We're talking $7, $10 an hour. Some of them were mall retail opportunities, working in a kiosk. It was not really heavy hitting sales. It was just kind of whatever I could do while I was at school. But that next year, 25 years old, right before I get married, I get this opportunity with the company, and I'm going to give them some love. Sleep Number, you guys may have heard of the Sleep Number mattress, but they took a shot at me. I was super green with barely had any sales. And I worked in a music store, and I knew how to talk to people, but I wasn't really a consultative seller, right? So I learned it. I learned the ropes. They taught me the products and services. I had a heart to help people out, and it all formed together. It made me a really strong salesperson. In my first year with the company, I hit 147% to my goal. I will always remember the number because I got this trophy mailed to me as a surprise. And then I got like hey, you're in president's circle, which means you're like top. It was either 2 or 5% of the company. It was out of 900 reps. I was like in a top group of like 50 to 100 people that got to go to this awesome location. And I cracked a beer with the CEO. And that's where remember I talked about the high school teacher where I realized my academic potential was just being unlocked. When I had that moment hanging out with C-level corporate, CEO and the director of sales, all these people, cracking a beer with them and getting my award, I was like, these people are no different than the guy in the back room who taught me how to watch this training video. You know what I mean? And so, and they had a real appreciation for who we were to make the company work. And that was a great organization. So I worked for them for a couple of years, get recruited into insurance sales, not something I ever woke up and thought I would be interested in or even good at. But they said the same thing. Hey, you have the skills that can make you really great at this. We'll teach you the stuff you don't know. Be yourself. And I took it and ran with that for 3.5 years. Now, I was married. Beautiful daughter was born in 2015. My priorities started to shift, and I focused on being the breadwinner in the family. I think that's an Italian thing too. We have that prideful, taking care of the pack mentality. And I was doing very well for a young insurance agent. I mean, you don't last in that industry for 3.5 years by being kind of half-assed, mediocre. Yeah. So mediocre is a word that to me, I just want to vomit when I hear it, by the way. So when I'm an insurance agent or selling Sleep Number beds, know that I'm the mid-20s kid that's listening to podcasts, reading Grant Cardone books. I mean, I'm learning everything about sales, living and breathing it as if it's a sport, not in a manipulative way where I'm going to try to break my numbers, but I don't care who I sell and what I sell. That's not what it was. It was actually connecting with people, learning the sales process of discovering, asking good questions. And then something I learned is when you believe in your product and service so much that you actually feel if the person leaves without purchasing it, that you're doing them a disservice. And that's how I felt like, oh my God, these people are going to leave and go buy something else, and they're going to be back in 3 years. Why am I going to make them go through that whole hassle? I need to make sure they understand what's offered here and the value of it. And I became very, very good at that, whether it was mattresses or insurance. And then what ends up happening is I have this thing where I have a gauge for my fulfillment, knowing my calling and purpose in life. If it's a little bit off from what I'm doing, I just feel it really, like it sits in my heart, and I just knew that I didn't want to be in, even though I enjoyed helping people with their insurance, it wasn't the space I felt I was going to belong in for the rest of my life, or my career, at least 30 years, 40 years. I didn't think that's what God or the universe put me on this planet to do. It's that creative, like where's that 8-year-old kid banging on the drums, running around with a video camera, storytelling. Yeah. So I was very real. I would go to the managers that I was working with, and I was always on a track to become a manager or in a program where I was becoming a manager. You asked me about the retail, to tell the story about the retail gig. So after I did insurance, I got called back to Sleep Number. That's what happened, where they launched a new store, and the current store manager went over there, and it opened up a spot at the store I used to work at. And they said, you got to apply. There's like 15 different people who have their name in the hat. And it was not very easy. They're like, why should we take you back? It was like, hey, you left us before. So I had to like repitch myself and position myself. And then I got that gig and did it for about 14 months. I broke some more store records, and I told you off camera I had a Pro Bowl season. But as good as things looked on paper, and I was making the greatest income up to that point in my career, my wife was able to stay at home with our daughter, and things looked great. I had a beautiful family going on, and bought a house, and everything was great. 2 cars, whatever, that American dream that a lot of people think of. Right. But we weren't fulfilled at home. I would come home, and our relationship was kind of in shambles. I mean, she would go up to bed and say, I'm just going to go read. And I'd come home and want to learn about what my daughter did when I was working 12 hours. And then I would be like wanting to watch a YouTube video, learning how to do sales so I can improve my process while she was gone. And it just got to this place where we were in 2 different deals. And this is really the pivotal part in how I become an entrepreneur. Is in 2017, my wife and I finally get to a point. She introduces the idea of getting a divorce, which was never in our vocabulary. And kind of the Italian deal is you just deal with your hardships, and you don't have to advertise them, and you guys handle that under your roof, and you don't give up. Yeah. And so I was willing to keep fighting for my daughter's well-being. Then I realized, man, like if she's 10 or 20 someday, and thinking back on all she's going to know us as is kind of the parents that were out of sync with one another. She was 2 at that point. So I actually said, you know what, I think it would be best if we did this. And it just felt like it was so dark. There was no point of return. Well, we go through with it. And I move out, I get my new apartment, and this is where the moment happens. Looking at all my stuff boxed up, and it's kind of like all my past. I mean, literally, it's yearbooks, it's trinkets and things. I'm kind of a little bit of a hoarder. And it was like all my past, everything I've done is in these boxes, and the blank canvas on the walls, the apartment that hasn't been touched yet, is my future. And I can create new empty boxes to, put more life cherished moments in. And I looked myself in the mirror, and the only one that was set up at that time, because I just had moved in, was the mirror in the bathroom. I'm standing there, and I look at myself and I go, who the hell do you want to be? Like, you're great. Yeah, you did these things in sales, and, you walked away from it. Or I was at that point still working there. So I was considering how I was going to pivot and start this company. I just said, I want to do something, take a chance at it. And I reflected back on the fact that both sets of my grandparents came over from Italy, and they didn't speak English very well. They didn't have great connections here, but they made it happen for a better life for their children and their future grandchildren. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and waste away in some cushy 9-to-5 that can pay me decently, and I can be in a mediocre, I hate to say that for marriage, but how many people are actually happy in their marriage, and just kind of go through it and retire and maybe play a little golf and then pass away. And that is not the legacy I'm willing to fight for. And I'm sorry, that's how I am. I don't have to apologize. I'm not sorry, but that's explaining why I decided to take the leap. I felt at 31 years old, I had so much, God willing, to ahead of myself. And if I didn't, I don't know, I could wake up tomorrow and it could be it. But I was definitely going to die on my own sword and live outside the box. Because in the companies I worked for, even though many of them were good experiences, they always limited what I would bring to the table. I'd have a marketing idea, and they'd be like, well, that has to go through the head of this department. And by time 18 people looked at it, it got squished. And so I'd be like, well, now I'm my own founder. I'm my own boss. And if I have an idea, I can run with it. So I created Social Chameleon, and the reason for the word chameleon is I felt like that was kind of a definitive word of my sales style, where I can work with an older couple or a younger person or someone my age, your age, and connect with them And originally, it was a digital media company. We were offering everything from web design, social media content creation, running ads, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, doing video testimonials. And I'd say one of the mistakes I made early on was I was trying to be everything to everyone. So in the process of kind of getting the business up and running for the first couple of years, I created my own podcast separately from the company as something that I felt called to do, a tug at my heart. And my show is called Mic'd Up with Mike Dicioccio. And I launched it to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, to go and create their social chameleon, whatever that is for them, their show or whatever their baby is that they want to get out into the world. And when I launched my show, one of my clients I did a testimonial for was like, hey, you know how to do podcasting right there. IEDA, that was my first podcast client. And they were like, hey, you know how to do this podcasting thing. Can you help us out? Of course, the answer was yes. And I didn't know if it was going to be one of many services, but once that pandemic hit and kind of got everybody stutter stepping, I decided instead of trying to water the forest and have this real busy landscape and things that were very difficult to monitor what was good, bad, and ugly, I decided to water a garden. So I cut out all that other stuff and I focused on podcasting. And that little garden has grown more, let's call it in that 10 by 10 space, than me trying to do too much. So I built a team. I have Todd, you see Mary, Nate, all great people that I connected with through my network who work on the team. Me, myself, and I was the original team. And I still do a lot of one-on-one with my clients. Everybody hears from me directly. Everybody works with me first before anything is touched by a team member at this point. So it's still very, kind of home, like organic. And I love it. That's the whole thing. And I thought of three things. I love doing this. It's an industry that's not going anywhere. Now, you can love something, but it doesn't mean it's going to bear fruit, but it's also been fruitful. So I've grown my business more than I have in the first 3 years by being laser focused. And I'm kind of doing this as a little bit of like a workshop, if you will, and what worked for me. Maybe if you're struggling in business listening to this, you're thinking, I am doing too much. You got to kind of pick they say the riches are in the niches. It's not just a cute Instagram post. I do believe in that. And once you actually know what you stand behind and pick what you're going to run with, that's when things just took off for me. And my anxiety went from not knowing where the next call would come from to having so much to work with on the field, if you will, and how I'm going to organize it and put everybody in the right place for success. I feel like I have kind of a box of the chess pieces. So I have all the players, and now I'm just putting them on the field to do the right, to win the match.
Yeah. What an amazing, amazing transformation, even in the good times, the bad times, the ugly, to a place where you can really just spread your wings and fly. And as a result of you spreading your wings and fly, you were able to help other people do the same thing, which is even more rewarding when you watch somebody else be able to take off and do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And the value of all the mess and, some of the great experiences you've had in the past and all the business stuff you've been through, companies, is that it all meant something. It means something. It made you who you are today, and gives you the opportunity to be able to share that with other people, which is what I'm passionate about. Like I tell people, look, I can tell you everything not to do with your business right now. I made everything you could probably imagine is a mistake. That now I'm trying to re-examine what those mistakes have been in my life, all my life, and share with people how to overcome obstacles and say, well, I know you do this, that's going to happen. So let's go this way instead. Right. So it's so important to be able to take some of those pains of the past and be able to use them for people's profit moving forward in the future, which is what you're doing with Social Chameleon. And I popped that up here online on this thing here a second ago. You even have the 7 tips to launch your podcast. So even just going there and you're not aware. I know a lot of folks that are nervous about podcasts. For some, they get afraid of the camera, they get afraid of the mic. They don't know what to do. But you even have a little video here that helps people to get some tips on how to even start, right? Which is fantastic, which is free. And I'm sure
there's a free download right there too.
Yeah, free download, which is a great resource. You also have, let's see at the top here, services, free discovery call, free guide. You got, of course, your reviews, folks that say how awesome you are, your team, your work, and then social work that you're doing, social media sites and whatnot. So there's a lot available for folks when they come to your website. Again, I'll pop that back up here on the screen, which is socialchameleon.us. Yep. And when they come there, do you have let's look at here. People are going to see it's $197 an episode. That's a lot of money. A lot of folks might be concerned about that. But for that money, let's just start with this one package that's up there right now. I mean, what kind of stuff are people going to really get for that kind of money in an episode?
Yeah. So the number one thing, the reason that this has worked so well and has been fruitful is there's a number of people that have an awesome idea and they have an amazing energy, and then they launch their podcast. And typically they're doing it a little bit as, I would say everyone starts and has the passion behind it, whether it's a passion project or not, there's passion in it, right? And if it's not something that is monetizing right away, which 99.99% of podcasts do not monetize right away. And I'd say if the only reason you're doing it, and Matt's like shaking his head, he gets it. If the only reason you're going to do it is because you think you're going to make a buck doing it, you're going to, after some turmoil or just, releasing 10 episodes and it's not making coin, you're going to say, I'm going to maybe put it on the back burner. 8 to 10, now about 15 episodes is that range when most people kind of drop off the cliff. So what our services offer is the opportunity for you to be great at what you're doing, which is create the idea of the show, what you want to talk about. You press record, upload the files to our platform, and we go to town on it. So the first package for $197 is audio only. But you can see if you scroll up to, it says Pro Bundle, go up one more. Oh, the other direction, yep. Yeah, so everything's listed right there. So you get an onboarding session with me. We do the cover art for you, the full recording. It's edited. We upload it. We take care of the distribution. So that headache is all taken care of.
It's a lot of work, folks, too. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So to take that all off the plate and just hit record and go, that's a great opportunity.
We go through your episode. We create the unique tags for it, so everything is going to be tagged correctly. And you can, I don't want to just read off the screen because everything's right there, but you go into the influencer bundle. That's when you're going to get into having audio, video, similar to what Matt offers in my own show is an audio and video platform. And then we do the most important thing for you that you can do, which is create promo materials. So not only just the cover art, which is important to have your unique cover art so people can visually see what's different about each show. Like if you're interviewing someone, you obviously want to highlight them in the cover art. But what we do is we create a video promo that's going to catch someone's attention. It's a highlight from the episode. Think about if you're releasing a full 30 or 60-minute concept show and just expecting everybody to go to YouTube and find it. I mean, that's not really a marketing plan. That's not really something that
hope marketing doesn't work.
We joked about, being Spielberg and Zemeckis, but they didn't release one movie where they just put it out on July 24th or whatever the date would be and expect people to show up without promo, like teaser promo. So the idea of what we do in our influencer bundle is to give you social media content that you can do kind of, hey, here's the cover of the episode. Here's a quote graphic from the episode. Here is a 1 to 2 minute teaser trailer that you can listen to and see if you like the content here. If you want more of it, then click through in the post. On Instagram, you can drive people to your link in your bio, right? And that's the whole idea. The concept is to get more people to your content. You have a great show, you have a great concept. Now we need to get more people tuning into it. So that's really the idea of having high quality content. But I've talked to so many people that say they hire this guy from one site, and there's a few of them, Fiverr, Upwork, whatever. I'm not talking down on those sites, but I know so many people in the past that hired like 4 different people to do their show. There was the person who was in charge of kind of the PR. There's the guy who does graphics. There's the audio dude. There's, if you got video, that might be the audio guy and the video guy. And a lot of times you have like 4 or 5 people working on a show where you can hire our company, probably spend less because of if you did the math on what you're paying everybody individually per episode. $197, I mean, or $297, $397, those prices, when you consider everything you're getting, are I mean, it's actually a very, very good deal.
No, time is money, bottom line. And
yeah,
and you're right.
And
You
we
add
do
up all the different
everything.
assets. Yeah, you add up all the different assets, and it's going to be more probably, especially your time. How much is your time worth? How much is an hour of your time worth, or 5 hours, or 10 hours to get something done for this podcast, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been so much time when we I don't even know what it ends up breaking out to. I've done the math enough where I know if I charge people per hour opposed to package pricing, it would be way more if you charge per hour. And I don't care if you're paying an audio guy like $20 an hour or something that's ridiculously low in our industry. I mean, the amount of time that goes into it to do a really good job, you're going to end up spending more than that anyway. So, and then it's also distributed. So that's like, ooh, I get to just see it come out and, it's taken care of for you.
Just start sharing links, right?
Yeah. You get to wake up Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever your show comes out, and you get to experience it like a consumer and just love watching your show happen. So, and I'll tell you, it's been amazing working with our clients where you get to see them. They're like little kids, on Christmas morning when their show launches. And that's what I love. And I'll tell you, working in media in the beginning, I was getting a lot of gigs where people were doing marketing because they knew they had to do it, not even that they had the fire to do it. Where with podcasting, most people have the fire because it's interesting to them. They see the purpose behind it. And that's just a great industry. And then I'll just share one quick thing why I decided podcasting was something I cared about enough to even consider it as an option and launch my own show. I attribute a lot of my success or lessons I've learned that maybe aren't even business things, but as a parent, just as a human being, the concept of gratitude. I learned it through books and through podcasting. And I have great people in my life, great family, but they know what they know in their separate ways of what they've learned in life. But we have the ability to go on our device, whatever device it is, and tune in to the people who you're interested in getting your information for. And we're talking, I mean, in the past, you'd have to know somebody to be able to hear a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk, like 100 years ago, to talk to a top-end entrepreneur, cutting-edge thinker in the world. You had to be someone to be like in that group of people. Now you just press a button and you can hear whoever you want to talk.
Level playing field.
It's amazing what we have at our fingertips. So that's why, to me, podcasting is not going away anytime soon. And why I love it so much is that what it's done for me. I feel like at the end of the day, business success aside and social chameleon aside, I love podcasting for what it's done for me as a person. I just want to get that out there.
Cool. What amazing timeline we've had there for people to listen to. And we've been chatting for a while, but there's been a lot of bases covered. And Mike, just as we're closing up here, somebody who might be in your position, like you were 5 years ago compared to where you're at today. And, they're really wondering, like, is this even possible? Can I even do this? I've tried so many things so many times. There's one more thing I'm going to try. It's going to flop. I mean, all kinds of thought processes that might be there. Or, I'm going to go for this thing. I'll give it all I've got. And if this is my last hurrah, then this is my last hurrah. I mean, a lot of different types of folk that might be listening and watching us right now. What's one thing you could say to that person through everything they've heard so far in the show that would be an encouragement to move in the right direction in their life?
Yeah, I would say everybody knows that level that they have within themselves, where other people may have a level where they quit. So you're going to have people in your life who are friends, family, they love you, they care about your well-being, that they may have their level of quit. And it's going to be a lot sooner than your level, right? So like what you're able to withstand. So like whether it's fire, what you can take, the heat you can take. So what I'm trying to get at is if there's something that's tugging at your heart and you feel that's your purpose in life, I would take time, clear out, doesn't need to be 5 hours, but take a half hour and meditate on what you really feel your calling in life is, and realize that being on this planet and having an opportunity, as long as you live in a culture that's your physical well-being is not in jeopardy if you decide to fill in the blank, whatever position, career, company, thing you want to do. If you're in the US and we have freedom here, which some people take for granted, and I want to make sure we remember not to, we have the opportunity to do something great with our life. So just ask yourself, how will the world be better after you've lived on it for how many ever years that you're granted, opposed to you not being here? And just remember that you have that level of greatness in you. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be media, podcasting, what Matt does. You don't have to be a social media influencer. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to be you. I love the quote, be you, everyone else is taken. So please, the world needs you to be at your best. I feel personally responsible for making the most of my opportunity. I mentioned my grandparents came over here and took a shot at even getting to America, so their family had a chance. I'll be damned if I kind of just piss it away. So be the best version of yourself in the thing that you feel makes you special, right? Everyone has their own thing. And the world will definitely be better for you doing that at whatever level it ends up being at. It could be a kindergarten teacher. She's in her element or he's in their element. It could be a CEO of a widget company. It could be someone like myself who has a media company. It could be a filmmaker. Whatever it is, inspire people through your actions, not your words, but your actions in doing what you do. And I'd say whether you have a family or not, you can really build a legacy if you never give up on your dreams. So, and the only other thing I'd say that's more of kind of a tangible talking point or something, if someone's really thinking about starting a business, evaluate this. So if you can get started without kind of shaking up what you're doing now, I'd recommend you get started. But if you're like me, I needed to burn the ships, because I'll tell you what, if you got 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on land, it's easy to pull that foot off the water and go back on the land because the land's pretty comfortable, stable, but it's not going to drive you into your greatness. So as long as you're not putting like your family, like I put a couple other people, I have a daughter, 6-year-old daughter I mentioned, beautiful. But things didn't go smoothly that first year as I anticipated. So it started to impact everything else. And I had to operate a lot quicker and, in ways that made it uneasy. I felt every emotion in the possible human well-being in the last 4 years, because being an entrepreneur teaches you a lot about yourself, and you feel extreme highs and extreme lows. It's not for everybody, but I would say if you can maybe get into it and kind of see where you're at first and have some strategy first. Definitely recommend that before just jumping out of the plane. Like if you can maybe peek at the manual to build a parachute, you might want to do that before you jump out. I jumped out with no manual, no concept, and I had to build the parachute while I was going head first into the middle of the ocean. So, but that's just how I knew I was. I knew I'd figure myself out because I had success in these other things, which was actually kind of not a great excuse to handle things that way. But I knew I just felt like I sold this company's product and that company's product. I want to create my own. Yeah. But there's practices you can put in place. So the last thing I'll say is you don't want to be so strategic that it takes you 7 years to launch your first product or service. And you don't want to be so sloppy that you just launch it and because it's I just want to do it and get it out. Because the problem with that is we don't have second or third chances in this world anymore. If someone sees your podcast and you launch it really sloppy, the chances someone's going to come back in like 3 months and see if you've improved at all is really low. They're going to move on to something they like. And once they like it, they're going to be pretty hooked. So don't be sloppy and don't be the guy who takes 7 years just to try something new, because things change so fast that you're going to be a dinosaur 7 years from now. So somewhere in between, some strategy, some of that, I'm going to just go and do it and kind of wing it until I feel, and you got to learn. Matt mentioned it earlier. We learn from our experiences. So if you don't have any game tape, what are you going to watch back? But it doesn't hurt working with someone to make sure you're doing, if we want to talk sports for a second, how to stand, how to throw the football, like your body. If you can have someone teach you the right ways up front while you're learning and doing the game tape, that's the best way you could do it. But I would say you're never going to get any better.
Later on top of something else is tough when you got to develop other habits that need to be broken.
Yeah, totally. You're never going to learn how to get better at it by not doing it, though. So
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in between, man. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
I've learned.
Scripture says faith without works is dead. So it's a great opportunity to really put feet to your faith and make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just got to do it. And perfectionism will kill you every time because it's not going to be perfect, y'all. It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be sloppy, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It's got to be you. And when you do stuff like that, then there's room to grow, and everybody's willing to grow with you. I've never seen any great shows start off perfect. They've just turned into some incredible stuff, right? Anyway, I can go through a list of those shows.
Go back and watch Gary V's Wine TV from like 2007 or whenever he launched it.
Compared to now, yeah.
And he was like, not the most comfortable guy on camera. Surprise, surprise, like anybody else who's doing it for the first time. And he was happy that he had a couple of family members and a friend or two that were willing to tune into it. And now he's, he is who he is. So I would say be your own version of him, or whether you're a guy or girl, be yourself, but realize like, you're going to polish it over time, but don't be too polished where you're, like Matt said, only showing your best side on social media, because that's not going to resonate either. People, the most popular, people, and it's not a popularity contest, but the most engaged podcasters are ones who are real. We're not hiding behind a facade. We're willing to get real with people, and that's why they're going to come in, because they know they can kind of come out of their shell too and get comfortable in a space that's not stuffy and judgmental. So I'd say if someone's wondering what separates someone from not really connecting with their following, it's if you're trying to be overly polished up front and people see that it's not genuinely you, that can also be a problem. That's not driving people to stay with you over time.
Yeah, it'll show up. It'll show up. Mike from Social Chameleon, it's been so great to have you here with us today on Matt Chat Live, and just to share some moments that are just straight up real. I mean, from life examples, the things you've been through to where you're at today. How you've been able to, accumulate all that into what you're doing now. And I'd probably say, the business you're in right now isn't exactly the perfect model of what you've wanted, but you're moving in that direction. And now you've been able to add staff members and have people behind you, which makes it so much better when you don't have to worry about doing everything by yourself. And being willing to, actually the big part about it is being willing to let go of certain things so somebody else can do it. That's a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we got to have it. It's our stuff and you can't do it. Nope, this is my baby. And sometimes you have to be willing to let it go. And by doing that, it's another opportunity to increase and scale in ways you never could have before by having the right people around you. And you've been able to do that. So one more time, I'll just pop up on the screen here. It's your website is at socialchameleon.us. Here's the website. It's a nice place to pop in there and check out some great resources. You got a free download there for folks. Some folks are saying, I've never tried it before. Well, pop on there, and he's got a video about that as well at socialchameleon.us. So thanks again so much for being here, Mike. It's been really good to have you on the show. And I think we can probably get back on another episode and really dig into more with Social Chameleon and go that direction too. This has been a great preface to even some of that, but there's still some great things for people to jump into and grab in their own lives as well. So, I've always tell you folks that sometimes it seems like there may be dark moments in our lives, and there are plenty of them. But it's always one thing I've learned is around the corner, through a person, through God, through circumstances, situations, somehow there's always going to be a hope revealed. And I'm so glad to have like Mike here today to be proof of that. In the midst of mess and goodness, came something better. And it wasn't necessarily what he was planning on, but it turned into something that was really in his heart from a kid. So things can happen for you too. Don't think there's no hope, because there surely is. I'm living proof. I'm supposed to have been dead so many times already. You know that, those that have listened and watched my story. And I just want to encourage you to continue to move on and move forward. So, all right, so the next time, again, it's every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern, is Matt Chat Live. Coming up in just a little bit from now, join us for Let's Get Naked on Clubhouse. You can join us at LinkedIn for the event page. The link will be there. Pretty super simple, and we'd love to have you. So thanks again, folks, for being here for another episode here of Matt Chat Live. Don't forget to come back and see us. We're here at the same Matt time, same Matt channel, right here for Matt Chat Live. Talk to you again soon. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode here on the Hope Revealed Podcast Network. If you'd like to find out more information about this episode, or learning more about Matt's coaching or consulting services, resources, or booking information he has available, please visit mattcrump.tv. And thank you again for tuning in. And remember, in any dark place or any uncertain moment, right around the corner, there can always be a hope revealed.